Welcome back to Coffee and Questions. I'm so glad you could join us today here at the Pleasant Hill Cafe as we take some time to just talk over things that you might have questions about and enjoy some time together. I hope that you grab a coffee and sit down and just hang out with us today. You see, I brought a friend with me today. I don't know her name. Yeah, she is a part of our nativity set and kind of is going to help us out with our discussion today. I was reading earlier this week about an accomplishment for mankind, you might say. And what was that accomplishment? It was the Voyager 2. The Voyager 2 has officially left our solar system. It's an interstellar space out there somewhere. It's the second man-made object to make it outside of our solar system, outside of the influence of our sun. The first one was the Voyager 1, now the Voyager 2. Now we're not only filling up our own space with trash, we're filling up interstellar space with our human trash. But it was making me think about astronomy and things like that, and I thought we'd talk about the Christmas star today, the Christmas star, and what was it, and can we track it to anything in particular? Can we, was there some actual moment? Is there some astronomical event that we can say this is what happened that the Magi saw? Well, first off, what do we know about the star? Well, not a lot. All right, so it's Matthew chapter 2 talks about it. It's the only part of the scriptures that mentions the star, the Christmas star, and. What does it tell us? It tells us that the Magi saw the star when it rose, or some of you might, if you read your translations, it might say they saw the star in the east. And we don't know exactly what it meant. Does it mean they were in the east when they saw the star, or when they saw the star first, the star was in the east, which is logical because the stars travel east to west, but that phrase "in the east" can actually also mean when it rose. So that's why some translations say when it rose. What's interesting is the Magi were very much aware of this star and knew what it meant. But Herod was not. When they got to Jerusalem, and Herod's like, wait, what star? How long ago was that? When did this happen? Give me details. So Herod and his advisors, none of them were aware of this, particular star that rose in the east. All right, and it indicates kind of that the star was not around when the Magi showed up. So the Magi saw the star, goes, oh, the king of the Jews has been born. Let's go to Jerusalem. Let's go to Judea, and so they take off. But the star's not there when they get there because it shows up again once they leave Jerusalem. They leave Jerusalem heading to Bethlehem, and behold, the star shows up, and it goes along ahead of them. It travels ahead of them. So it's moving from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, which is north to south. It's like 6 miles of travel, okay? So it's not very far, but the star is going ahead of them north to south, which is not a standard. That's not a standard thing for stars to do. They don't normally travel north to south. So whatever it was different. And then another thing that it does that's really weird is that it comes to a stop. It's traveling north to south, and then it comes to a stop over top of the house where Jesus is living. Now remember, this is maybe up to 2 years after his birth, and Mary and Joseph aren't living in a stable. They've moved into an actual house in Bethlehem at this point in time, and so there they are. They're in Bethlehem, and this star stops over the house. Now, you know what? I've seen a lot of stars in my life. Pleasant Hill, we're out in the wilderness here, out in the backwoods of Branch County, and we get to see the stars at night when there's no cloud and things like that. And I can't say that I've ever seen a star that you can say was resting over top of one house and I can go, oh, that star, It stopped over this house. I know where this house is. I mean, come on, guys. That's just not logical. So what else do we know? Perhaps the only other thing we know is that the term star is a very generic word for star. It's just basically a stellar light, a light that in the sky. They didn't separate different types of stars and things like that. So it was a star. So what could it have been? Could it have been a comet? Well, that's not logical. Number one, the comet wouldn't have lasted from the time when the Magi showed up to the time when they made it to Jerusalem, and it wouldn't have shown up and then showed up again. Maybe you got two comets, but Herod would have been very aware of comets that had occurred. All right, and comets were very, very, significant signs to those ancient people in their astrological setting. So comet doesn't make sense. How about a convergence where two stars come together, or a planet and a star, or two planets come by each other? Well, that's possible. There are even some triple convergences that took place, within years around the approximate time when Jesus was born. But again, this would have been something that may not have been noticed by Herod, and maybe noticed by the Magi, who we talked about last week, where studied the stars as part of their scriptures and as part of their religion. But it doesn't move, right? It's not going to move 6 miles north to south and then say, by the way, this is exactly the house that you need. It's not going to work that way. Supernova. Some people think there was a supernova that occurred, bright shining star, and that's a cool idea. Again, but that would have been very noticeable to Herod, and Herod and his advisors would have known. Oh, that star. So, that star means that there's a new king born. So that doesn't make sense at all. So, what is it then? What was the star that happened, that took place in Bethlehem? I think we have to admit that the star that took place 2,000 years ago, that led the Magi to Jesus, was a supernatural star. It wasn't something natural. It wasn't something that we can go back into our astronomical data banks and say, if we rewind the stars, we know that this happened, and this indicates that, this does everything that the Magi expected. Perhaps maybe there's some weird combination of stars and things like that took place, but not something that's easy for us to understand or say, yeah, that's definitely it. And so I brought our friend, because it's an angel holding a star, and I know in a lot of manger sets, nativity sets, they do that to make it easy. We got to get a star in there, and we got to get angels. So let's just make the angel holding the star, okay? But the reality is, I think it's quite possible that God just did something supernatural. Maybe he used an angel. Maybe he just created a star that would do unique things for a short period of time. But this was a supernatural star. God wanted the Magi to find Jesus. He was leading them to find Jesus. All right, and so I don't think we can find an astronomical reason for it. So that's what I can tell you about the star. That's what I know. I read an article in Answers in Genesis that really kind of helped out with this. So I'll put the link to that below. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. I don't think you're going to see a Coffee and Questions video next week or even maybe the week after, but I should have another one up in the next couple weeks. Thanks for hanging out, guys.